Hey friends, welcome back to the Enough Mom podcast. I'm Jennifer Bryant, and this is episode 103, Confidence, Assured in Your Convictions. What does it mean to be confident? Well, today we're going to explore really practical ways to acknowledge what it takes to have maybe natural confidence to some extent, and then what it takes to develop or build your confidence as you go along. Now, this episode is focused on mothers specifically, but every time we talk about mothers and how to step into our calling to be more confident in the journey of motherhood, inevitably, I'm going to reference some ideas around child development because every one of us, right, has developed into the unique individual we are. But as mothers, you are watching your little people develop into their own unique selves. So when you understand a little bit about child development, and then you can look at your child and go, okay, he or she seems on track for where I think they need to be, or they're kind of missing some things. I wish my child was more confident. I wish they weren't as shy, or I wish maybe they didn't have as much confidence as they do, or else they wouldn't be jumping off stuff and scaring the crap out of me every day. We're going to look at a lot of different elements of where things come from. And eventually I'll be bringing on experts and other people to affirm why we do the things that we do. So once you understand that, mama, once you get down to the core belief of where you know things come from, then you can start to sort of attack or focus in on the things we can do to get to a more confident place. So today we're diving into the second pillar of the Enough Mom framework. Here at Enough Mom, we're helping you to find courage to be confident in your calling. Okay. So today we're looking at confidence as the second framework. I'm not talking about the fake it till you make it kind of confidence, although I have given that advice before. When you're really in a pickle, or when you're up there in front of a crowd getting ready to do some public speaking, maybe sometimes we have to trick our brains into being more confident than we feel sometimes, right? But no, I want us to get down to the core of what it means to have confidence in our choices. Sometimes our belief patterns will lead us to act in such a way that values what we value, or maybe goes against our values, and that's why we may be feeling weird about our next choices or unsure about decisions we have to make in the future. It's the kind of confidence that comes from really knowing who you are, what you value, and what you truly believe. I want you to believe from this podcast that your voice matters in your own home. Your voice matters, whether you feel like that in charge mama or not. Many women don't. I want you to walk away believing that you are valuable and that you can step in to your confidence as a mother. Can we be honest for a minute? How many times this week have you felt overlooked, underappreciated? It happens, right? Especially as our kids get older and they need us less. Right now, I'm in the middle of raising teenagers, and they are all kinds of independent. I'm proud of them. I love them for it. I know my husband and I instilled a lot of these qualities into them. But sometimes, we can be left to feel like, well, we do so much, but we're not thanked for it. Motherhood is a thankless job oftentimes, but you don't have to stay in that place. You don't have to stay there. Maybe you made a meal that no one thanked you for. I know I often, when I cook, I want to know, was it good? Was it good? And it's like, Jen, do you need approval for that? I mean, do you think it's good? Do you like it? Then that's all that matters. And when my husband and kids tell me, "Oh my gosh, make this again," then yeah, okay, that means they value it. If they don't say anything, it doesn't mean they hated it. But if they say, maybe not this again, then I definitely know, right? It's good to communicate with each other, but just because you may not be getting back what you need in that moment does not mean you're failing, Mom. Believe me, I go to that place in my head often, and I don't need to. So this is why I'm here for you, to help you not go down to that place. Maybe you made a parenting decision that someone else questioned. Maybe your friend, maybe your mother-in-law, maybe someone out there made a disparaging remark about the choices that you're making as a mom. These are the areas where we need to know that, I trust myself enough to make a decision about my child. And if someone has something to say about it, I mean, they better be a really super duper trusted individual in your circle for their advice to carry weight in your life and to live rent free in your head. Or it's something that you can notice and thank them for and say goodbye to. You don't need to hold on to every piece of advice that someone throws at you. The truth is that building a secure foundation, what you can really feel confident about, is not built on the comments and the approval of others. It's not. It's built on your own experiences and your ability to trust yourself based on the difficult things you've already been through. Okay, now to the child development side of things. Children do not learn and grow to trust themselves unless they're in personally challenging situations, right? That resilience is what children build when they're in a place that they can learn to struggle through and overcome something. And only through those experiences, whether it's a baby lifting themselves off the blanket with their little arms, right? They're building those muscles and they're building their neck muscles. And they do that enough, they build that up enough, and they can trust themselves. But if we're always holding and carrying them and not allowing them to practice those skills, they're not going to develop as soon as they probably need to. Okay, so that's an infant example. Let's go to a toddler example. Toddlers test every boundary, right? Toddlers need to be able to do that trial and error thing. They learn through experience, through hands-on play, through interacting with others, right? They're not trying to be bad, quote unquote, or be manipulative. They frankly don't have the capacity to be that way yet, but they are testing boundaries. All right. So finding themselves in difficult situations and getting themselves out of it, like, maybe it's climbing on a difficult gym thing at the park or at home, or getting themselves out of a tricky situation. Instead of saving them immediately, if they're not in imminent danger, maybe give them the space to learn what they need to learn. That's how people build confidence. Now, going to the older kids example, you've got elementary, middle school, teenagers. They're going to be in more situations where they have relational struggles, possibly. They're trying to make friends. They're trying to hold on to friendships. They're trying to resolve conflict. Those struggles are experiences that they need to build their own emotional, intellectual resilience. Not to mention, doing hard things like working and sports and all of that. Those examples of difficult things will come as well. And it's important that they give their time and their mind and their energy to those things. And we get to help facilitate that. And we get to help walk them through those things. Now, on the mom side, the things that challenge us about watching our kids do hard things and then trusting ourselves to either give them advice or frankly just be quiet sometimes, watching them struggle without trying to control or guide the situation unnecessarily. Sometimes too much of our guidance can be crippling for them. But at the same time, when we go through that difficult process of watching them do difficult things, we build our own mental and emotional resilience around that. Now, let me give you an example. My daughter comes to me, and she doesn't really come to me to ask for advice. She more like is talking in my general direction because she just wants to she wants to hear herself think through something out loud. And I'm there, and it doesn't help her at this point in her life. She's 16 years old now. It doesn't really help her if I try to ask her a lot of questions or try to problem solve for her. She needs me just to be present so that she basically has a witness to this problem that she's having. Okay. I am learning as I put on the patience to sit and listen to her that I am enough for what she needs in that moment. For me just to be a witness to her thought process is actually enough, because her 16-year-old almost grown up self needs to find more satisfaction in her own process than having her mom hand her all the answers. Sometimes I'll ask questions that allow her to think through things, but it's more like I'm just curious questions. I mean, in the back of my mind, like I've kind of been in situations like this, I've been there, done that, but I don't need to come at her with that air of knowledge or, you know, I know it all already, so let me just give it to you. It's she doesn't need that more often than not. She just needs me to hear her. And it is tough, mama, because when you're going from teaching them everything and you are building your own confidence, and yeah, I kept my kids safe in this way, I protected them from this, I gave them rules and boundaries, and look, they're happy, they're healthy, they're thriving because I was able to be successful in that as a mom. We know not every day is perfect, but at least you have a track record of seeing that your rules and your boundaries have been successful in allowing kids to grow and thrive, right? It's kind of a different story when they get older, though. It's more about, do I trust that I've given them enough to make their own good decisions? It's hard. It's hard to work out of that role because your role does change slightly. Your role changes when you don't have to change their diapers anymore, when they're potty trained and they can go potty by themselves, well, more or less. Your role changes when they are older and they're learning harder subjects in school and they can lean on other adults to help them with things that you don't necessarily know how to help them with, and that's okay. Your role changes again when they are an older teenager and a young adult, when they have to be able to trust themselves to do things. So, mama, you can be an enough mom by just accepting the current role you have in your children's lives at this moment, at their stage of development. Now, I'm going to talk a lot about psychology and stages of development here. I am a former trained elementary, middle school, and high school teacher. So I've been in the public school system as well as the private school system, as well as the current homeschool system, which is my own system, actually. But I know we've been in co-ops, we've done all kinds of things like that in every facet of education. So when I come back to talk about their developmental appropriateness or their developmental stage, I'm referring to elements of child psychology. And where I can, I will leave links to that if you want to know more, or just ask me in the comments, actually, whether you're on YouTube or if this is shared on social media, just ask me in the comments. I'd love to hear about what you want to know more about, because that is where I am coming from. Before we continue, a quick heart to heart. If Enough Mom is encouraging you, would you take a moment to subscribe and share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it? We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and everywhere else you listen. Hit the subscribe button and check us out for more interesting episodes. It takes so much time and equipment to make this happen, and I would be honored if you decided to support Enough Mom through Ko-Fi. Even a small $5 a month contribution helps tremendously. You'd basically be buying me a coffee to keep this show running. Thank you so much for being here. And remember, Mama, you are enough. Let's get back to our chat. Another area where we can build our confidence as a mother is sticking to our family values. So, living out your family values without apology does not mean that you need to be harsh or defensive about things. It means being clear and kind about what matters most to your family. So maybe your family values rest, especially maybe on a Sunday, and you don't want to make extra plans. You don't want to respond to every party invite, or maybe you feel pressured to respond to every party invite. And I'm here to tell you, no, you have a choice. You can choose whether to use your energy that way or whether to take stock of how much energy you've used this past week and use it differently. You can do that. You can confidently stand up for what's important to your family and for your energy. Maybe you value creativity over perfection. Maybe it doesn't bother you that there's stuff all over the house. And I'm not talking messy house necessarily. I'm just talking about we don't need to have everything perfectly pristine all the time to feel comfortable in our home. Maybe you're in a season of deep creativity and the kids are doing a lot of different projects and they're having fun and they're loving it, and you are that creative person yourself. Don't worry that so-and-so next door's house looks like a Pinterest home, or like Martha Stewart visits there every week or whatever. We don't need to compare ourselves in that way. So we'll do a lot more episodes about that as well, and how being content and confident in who you are is often going to reflect what kind of home space you live in, right? I mean, you get to make it what you want it, and you don't need to feel bad about that. So being confident in your values and your choices around how you keep your home, it matters. It matters what you think, not what others think. Or maybe you value very authentic relationships. So you're teaching your kids that it's okay to respectfully disagree with adults. Maybe you are teaching your kids how to communicate in a way that is meaningful and that doesn't violate their personal boundaries or emotional needs for the moment. When grandma says that kids should be seen and not heard, you can gently say, well, grandma, we're teaching our kids that their voice matters while also being respectful. None of these responses attack other people's choices. It means that you can communicate in a way where you are grounded confidently in what you have chosen for your family. And that is completely, completely okay. You don't have to believe that your family values are weird or crazy. They're yours, and they are your unique fingerprint on this world. Mama, your opinions matter because you matter. Do you believe that? Do you believe that you have the right to take up space in this world, that you have a voice that needs to be shared? Your feelings are valid because you are a whole person, not just part of a system. You are a whole person, and you deserve to be heard. When you believe that your thoughts have value, it changes how you show up. It changes how you walk into a room, whether or not you choose to be part of another mom group, because you believe that you deserve to be in community, that you need it, that you can't do this on your own. Okay? But you have enough in you now to step out and ask for what you need. We all live through different seasons of motherhood, and we all have to grow in that confidence. And often what gets us there is having a solid community around us. So you have enough. You have what it takes to create that community, the community that you need, that centers around your values and not what other people think you should be, or not what you think other people think you should be because of scrolling on social media and getting everyone's perfect picture of what life is, or their perfect vacations or whatever. You need to be in a real life relationship with real people. It's so important. Until next time, Mama, thank you for joining me here on the Enough Mom podcast. Please follow us on the socials. Visit me at jennifer-bryant.com/enoughmom and consider joining our Enough Mom community. It's going to open very soon, and I'm going to have wonderful things in there for you. This has been Jennifer Bryant with the Enough Mom podcast, where you can find the courage to be confident in your calling.